Many years ago, in a quiet village called Obodomiri, a child was born under unusual circumstances. Her name was Odinakachi. The night she was born was strange. It was the middle of the dry season, when no rain ever fell, yet the sky shook with thunder. People in the village woke up in fear, asking one another why the heavens were angry. Inside the small hut, where her mother was giving birth, the midwife felt something unusual in the air. The room was heavy, silent, as if the walls were watching. Just as the baby's first cry filled the night, the midwife looked up and froze. In the doorway stood a tall shadow. It looked like a man, but it had no face. It said nothing. It only stood there, still and quiet, watching the newborn. The midwife screamed, dropping the clothes in her hands. Family members rushed into the room, but when they looked towards the doorway, there was nothing there. Only the dry wind moved the raffia mat that hung as a curtain. The midwife trembled as she whispered, "I saw someone, tall, watch it," but no one else had seen it. By morning, word had spread across the village. Some said it was a spirit that came to claim the child. Others believed it was a sign of destiny. The elders called for the diviner, the one who could speak to the unseen. He came with his cowries and sat on the earth floor. He threw the shells again and again, reading the patterns they made. His face grew serious, and the compound fell silent as everybody waited. Finally, he spoke in a deep, heavy voice. "This child is not an ordinary child. She has been married to the gods." Gasps filled the room. Odinakachi's mother clutched her baby to her chest. No one dared to question the diviner's words. In the village, when the gods chose, no one could resist. From that moment, Odinakachi's life was sealed. Odinakachi did not grow like the other children. From the very start, her life was different. She lived under rules and sacred taboos that marked her as special, but also set her apart. On holy days, she was not allowed to eat certain food. Snails, palm oil, and other meals that children loved were forbidden to her. While her friends decorated their hair with colorful beads that rattled when they played, Odinakachi's hair carried only white cowries. To the elders, the cowries were a sign of purity, a reminder that she did not belong fully to this world. To Odinakachi, they were heavy chains she could not remove. Even her play was restricted. When other children ran to the river to swim and laugh, Odinakachi was told she could not go. The spirit lived there, her mother warned. "If you go closer, they may take you away." So while her friends shouted and splashed in the cool water, she sat far back in the sand, watching with quiet envy. Whenever Odinakachi fell ill, her parents never took her to the clinic in the nearby town. Instead, they went straight to the shrine. There, the priest would speak to the gods on her behalf. Chickens were offered, goats were killed, sometimes even ram was laid to the feet of the shrine. Only after these sacrifices would strength return. The people whispered that her health was tied to the spirits who claimed her. The villagers treated her with a strange mixture of fear and respect. They whispered behind her back, saying she was different, touched, chosen, but none dared mock her openly. To laugh at Odinakachi was to invite the anger of the gods, and no one wanted misfortune to follow them home. So Odinakachi grew up always on the outside. The children did not play with her freely. The elders watched her too closely. Even her own parents spoke to her with careful words, as if she was a guest in her own house. As Odinakachi grew into womanhood, her strange destiny began to show itself more clearly. The dreams came first. Almost every night, she saw a faceless man standing before her. Tall, powerful, his presence so heavy it made her chest tighten. His voice was deep and commanding, yet soft in tone. "You are mine," he would whisper. "You are my wife." At first, Odinakachi told herself it was only a dream. She tried to forget it, to laugh it off in the daylight, but the dreams refused to stop. And soon it followed her out of sleep and into a waking life. When she lay in bed at night, she felt the mattress deep as if someone had sat down beside her. Sometimes she heard breathing in the darkness, slow and steady, like a man laying close to her ear. On other nights, she would wake suddenly and see him standing at the corner of her room, a shadowy figure, tall and silent. One night, she felt the presence settle beside her more strongly than ever before. The air in her room grew heavy, pressing against her skin. Her eyes could not see him, but her body knew she was not alone. It was as if unseen hands reached out to her. Odinakachi clutched her wrapper tightly around herself and trembled until morning. Terrified, she went to her mother the next day and told her everything. Her mother only looked at her with tired, knowing eyes and said quietly, "Child, this is your husband. The gods have taken their due. You cannot refuse him." Odinakachi's heart sank. She was no longer a child. She was a young woman with dreams of her own. Dreams of going to the city, learning work and living free. But now she was told her life belonged to a spirit she could not see, touch or understand. But Odinakachi could not accept it. She refused. She prayed in secret, asking God to take the spirit away. She begged her ancestors to free her. Some nights, she even lit a candle by her bed, whispering, "Leave me alone. I am not yours." For weeks she resisted. She shut her eyes tightly when the shadows came. She stopped her ears when she thought she heard the breathing. She fought with all her might to banish the spirit husband from her life. The more she fought, the more the unseen husband tightened his hold. Inside her, a quiet fire began to burn. She thought often of the city beyond the forest, a place where no one knew her story, where shrines had no power over her. "Maybe if I leave," she whispered to herself, "I will escape him. Maybe in the city, he cannot follow me." So on a fateful morning, Odinakachi packed her belongings and ran to the city. When Odinakachi reached the city, it felt like stepping into another world. The houses were tall, the streets were filled with bright lights, and nobody knew her story. For the first time, she felt free. She searched for a job and found favor everywhere she went. People admired her honesty, her hard work, and her beauty. Soon, she was employed in a company where her bosses treated her with love and respect. Her colleagues liked her too. They said she carried a special light around her. Odinakachi stopped wearing only white. She bought colorful dresses, styled her hair in modern ways, and walked with confidence. She laughed more than she had ever done in her village days. In a few years, she saved enough money to buy her own house. Truly, her life had turned around. One day, Odinakachi met Kofo, a handsome and wealthy young man. He was gentle, kind, and deeply in love with her. Odinakachi's heart melted. For the first time, she thought maybe she could have a normal life, love, marriage, and children. But only a few days into their beautiful relationship, strange things began to happen. Kofo came to her one morning, his face pale and his eyes full of fear. "Odinaka," he whispered, "I saw a man in my dream, tall with no face. He chased me." The next night, it happened again, and by the third night, the faceless man turned into Odinakachi in the dream and stabbed Kofo in the chest. Kofo woke up screaming. Terrified, he broke up with Odinakachi immediately. "I can't stay with you," he said. "Something is not right. You are not normal." Odinakachi's heart shattered. From that day forward, the same pattern repeated. Men who loved her at first soon ran away in fear. Some woke up trembling from dreams of the faceless man. Others called her a witch, a demon, or cursed. Her bright life began to collapse. She lost her job. Neighbors whispered behind her back. Even some of her friends stopped talking to her. But one friend, Amaka, refused to leave her side. "Don't worry, Odinakachi," Amaka said firmly. "We will fight this thing together." She took Odinakachi to different churches. Pastors prayed, prophets shouted, and she fasted until her body grew weak. But instead of freedom, things became worse. The shadows around her grew heavier, and the spirit husband's presence became stronger. Everywhere she turned, doors closed. At night, the dreams returned with greater power. The faceless man no longer stayed at a distance. Now he sat beside her bed, whispering, touching her head and reminding her, "You are mine, you cannot escape me." Odinakachi cried, but the spirit only laughed in the silence of the night, and so her story was far from over. To be continued in part 2.